Hi, good evening, all of you. Hello, good evening, all of you. Hope you are able to view the screen. Hope you are able to see the slide. You are able to see me and you are able to get the clear voice from me. Hope everything is clear. Hi, good evening, all of you. Please confirm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the kind confirmation. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now, today we are here to discuss on quality risk management guideline ICHQ9. Hope you all are aware about that. The ICHQ9 is having a guideline for quality risk management, and now it is revised to revision 1. So that is the reason I plan to discuss this topic so that everyone can understand and learn from this topic. Before start of this training, I would like to request all of you that whatever you have the questions, queries or need any clarifications, you put your all questions or queries in the chat box or comment section. I will revert back to you after completion of this training session. Okay. So let us start with this today's discussion on quality risk management ICHQ9 R1. R1 means first revision of the guideline. Okay, first revision of the guideline. So what is our today's training agenda? The training agenda is, the first we will discuss about the brief on this topic and scope. We will discuss about the ICH quality guidelines, that what are the ICH quality guidelines and all. Then we will further focus on the quality risk management guideline. After that, we will discuss about what are the updates, or the why the ICHQ9 guideline is revised to R1. So what are the changes in the new revised guideline, that we will discuss in detail so that you will understand that what are the current expectations of the regulatory agencies. After that, we will discuss about a very important topic, and the importance of the risk management, because the managing your risk has its own rewards. That is the one slide only is there, but it will have the very much importance with this training session. After this, we will discuss not only ICHQ9, but what is the role of ICHQ9 in ICHQ8 and ICHQ10. So basically ICHQ9 is used not only as a standalone. Okay, it is used for risk management purposes and all, but it is used in line with the ICHQ8 and ICHQ9 as an integrated approach. So that also we will touch upon while our discussion. After this, many people have the questions that how we can implement the quality risk management, practically how we can do the things, how we should perform the risk assessment and all. So for that purpose, I will discuss on the QRM tool for FMEA, failure mode effect analysis tool. So that we are going to discuss. Okay. Then we will discuss about a one step ahead even, that what are now current expectations above the FMEA. Okay, hope you all are aware about that. We are calculating the risk priority number and all. Okay, but one step ahead, what is the expectation? So the expectation is action priority table concept and heat map matrix. That also we are going to discuss today. And after that, there will be the vote of thanks, and after that the question answer session. So whatever the questions you have at the end of the session, you can put in the chat box, and that questions I will reply to you after completion of this training session. Hope you got my point. I will try to cover this training in 1 hour, but if maybe 5 or 10 minutes are more, I request to be with me for complete session, because this type of training you will not get anywhere else. Because what I plan here to discuss on what are the current updates of the guideline, and also how practically you can do, and in addition to that, how you can integrate the Q9 approach, ICH Q9 approach in line with the Q8 and Q10. That is what we are going to discuss. So please be with me, and let us start with our today's training session. But before going to start our today's training session, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Hitendra Kumar Shah. I am a CJMP compliance consultant, trainer and auditor from NADH plus GXP compliance services. This is my brief CV. I will not much discuss or waste your time here, but the point here is that many companies, they need to do the external training session, so they can put this recording, and they can make an entry as an external training. So that is the reason this is there are a couple of slides I am putting as a part of my CV. Hope you got my point. And this is the major work experience. I started my career with Sun Pharma. I work in Indian companies as well, multinational companies. The Indian companies include Sun Pharma, Blue Cross Laboratories, Alembic Pharma, US Vitamins, and the multinational group or multinational companies includes AstraZeneca, Sanofi, Mylan. So these are the my experience, major experience. And before start of this session, I just want to put a disclaimer that this is only what is recorded, because see what I am discussing, it is getting recorded. So many people will be referring this training session on continuous basis after maybe 6 months, 10 years, or 1 month, 10 years or more, because it will be in the YouTube section. So the point here is, now at this moment it is referred, it is prepared on the basis of the current guidelines requirement. But as you know that now the Q9 is revised in year 2023. So similar way it may revise further to Q9 R2 in future. So when it will revise, then you need to refer the current version of the guideline. So that is the reason I put here the disclaimer that, but still you can consider this training session as a understanding or the knowledge or learning purpose. Okay, but if you want to implement in your organization, then you can refer the current guideline. So now with this, let us discuss and start with the introduction or brief introduction about the ICH guidelines. So there are some couple of slides I will just touch upon. So there are many regulatory agencies like FDA and so many you can see here, Health Canada, European Agency, EMEA, so many regulatory agencies are there. So what happened, these regulatory agencies, this is the ICH guideline, and the unique nature of the ICH guideline is, this ICH guideline is not prepared or designed by only the regulatory agency experts. What they do, they form a expert working group, expert working group. In that expert working group, there are the member of regulatory agencies as well as the industries also. And then all this EWG, expert working group, they discuss, they work on the topic, and based on the industrial expert experience as well as the regulatory authority experience, this ICH guideline is prepared. So this is the only guideline ICH, that is what I want to share with you, that this is the only one guideline that it is designed and developed by the expert working group, while other all regulatory guidelines like FDA guideline or health TPD guideline or EU guideline or whatever you take the example. I have taken some logos of the different regulatory agencies, that all regulatory agency guidelines are designed and issued by the regulatory agency only. But only this ICH guideline is designed by the expert working group, where the people who are working in the industry, they also involved in the form of expert working group. Hope you got my point. This is the uniqueness of the ICH guideline. I thought that I need to share, so I shared a thought with this. The next is, there are, when the ICH guideline is formed, there are basically the 4 types of guidelines. So first is the quality guideline, second is the safety guideline, third is efficacy guideline, and then when the topics are categorized under quality related guideline under quality level, safety related guidelines under safety level, efficacy related guidelines under efficacy level, it is observed that there were some topics which are not either under quality or under safety or under efficacy, and these guidelines are put under the 4th category called multidisciplinary guidelines. Okay, This is just a brief I am sharing you. It may helpful for your knowledge and understanding. So that is the reason. Okay. So now the point here is we are discussing today on ICH Q9 guideline, and this ICH Q9 guideline is a part of the quality guideline. So let us discuss about the quality guidelines. So ICH Q means quality guidelines. Okay. And then under Q guideline, ICH quality guideline, there are Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5 up to Q14 different guidelines. So all the different guidelines are listed here, and the very important thing is today we are going to only focus and discuss on ICH Q9 quality risk management, and that is the first version of the guideline. That means ICH Q9 ICH Q9 R1. Okay, that is what we are going to discuss today. Hope this is clear to all of you. Again, I am requesting you, if you have any questions or need any clarification, please put your questions in the chat box or comment section. I will revert back to you. So now this is the page, I pasted here for the ICH Q9 R1. R1 means first revision of this guideline. So here it is mentioned that the risk management principles are effectively utilized in many different areas. Why I put here from the guideline, because many people think that the risk assessment or quality risk management is very tedious or very hard or very time consuming activity. Maybe it is just a paper based documentation activity and all. So they feel like that when they are working with the pharma. But I would like to tell you that the quality risk management is used for all the sections, all the different sectors: finance, insurance, occupational safety, everywhere, whatever I have mentioned here. I will give simple example. If you want to apply for the loan, you go to the bank and you put application for the loan. Then the bank will check the credit score. Right? What is that credit score? The credit score is nothing but the risk priority value, risk priority number, that how much successfully you take care of the loans, or how many loans you have, and how you deal with your money in your bank. Is there any default, or is there any the check bounce charges? All these, whether you are paying the credit card payment on time, all these evaluated based on the risk with respect to the customer, and then the credit score is calculated. So if you have a high credit score, then you are likely to get the loan from that particular bank. So the credit score, my point here is the credit score calculation is nothing but the risk assessment done by the bank. Hope you are getting my point. So everywhere you can see, the risk management is followed, and you are one of that. You are working in the pharma. You are dealing with the patient health. So automatically this becomes a very important thing for you to follow the ICH Q9 guideline. Hope you are getting my point, what I am telling you. So same guideline page I displayed here on the slide. The evaluation of the risk to quality should be based on scientific knowledge and ultimately linked to the protection of the patient. So the point here is, what I am telling you is, whenever we are performing the risk assessment, it should be based on scientific knowledge, not on the individual thoughts. It should be based on the science, and the focus or the intention should be always for the protection of the patient. The level of effort, formality and documentation of the quality risk management process should be commensurate with the level of the risk. So I purposely put here formality in a bold, if you see here, because in ICH Q9 R1 there is a focus on this formality word. We are going to discuss this in the next slides, but I am just sharing a thought here. Okay, so level of effort, formality and documentation of the QRM process should be commensurate with the level of risk. So what does it mean? Just keep this question open in your mind. We will discuss again on this topic. Okay, just keep this question open in your mind. Don't close this question, because what is meant by this we are going to discuss in the upcoming slides. So please be with me. Again, I am telling you, because this training session it will be always helpful for you for your long term, because it is used by all the different teams of people: production, quality control, quality assurance, supply chain, everywhere now it is being used. Earlier supply chain was not involved, but now the supply chain will also involve, purchase will also involve, the product development people will also involve, because everybody need to follow the quality risk management. So please bear with me and please be with me, because this training session you will never get anywhere else. So this is the the flow. You may be aware, this left side flow, you can see that it is from ISO 14971 for medical devices, and the right side is from ICH-Q9. So here basically you need to have a risk assessment in a different stages. There is no any change in the previous to the current guideline. So the risk assessment, where you have to identify the risk, and then risk analysis you have to do, and risk evaluation you have to do. Then you have to put some controls so that you can mitigate the risk, and then you can evaluate some events, and you have to communicate the risk to the team. So this is just a brief about that. Don't worry, don't bother about much that it is confusing and all. I will make it in a very simple language. Only be with me. If you feel that I am speaking very fast, you can reduce the speed of the video in the YouTube section, and you can listen this video in a slowly. Don't worry about that. Okay, this is just a part of the guidelines, so I thought I will share with you. Now let us discuss about some definitions. So there are some definitions about the quality definition, risk management definition. You can go through the slide. The third definition is very important, and that is a QRM, quality risk management. So the definition includes the systematic process for the, if you can see, assessment. Next, what is that? Control, communication and review of risk to the quality of the drug or medicinal product across the product life cycle. So that is the reason I highlighted. Hope you are able to see this highlighted section. Okay, there I want to focus, so that is the reason I discuss this thing. Now this is very important topic, and the topic is now, as I committed you, that what is the addition in this first revision, what is extra from the earlier, because many people may be aware about ICH-Q9 and they are following the risk assessment and all. I agree with you, but they may not aware about that what is the new in this ICH-Q9 R1. So that is the reason I have put here. Basically this ICH-Q9 revised for introduction of 4 different parts, 4 different parts. What are the 4 different parts? The first is high level of subjectivity in risk assessment. High level of subjectivity. Second, failing to adequately manage supply and product availability risk. So normally what we discuss about only the patient risk when we are dealing with the risk assessment. But what R1 expect, that we need to consider the supply and product availability risk also. The third point is lack of understanding as to what constitute the formality in QRM work. Now you remember I discussed that the formality in the QRM, that we are going to discuss one by one. This all 4 points we will discuss one by one in the next slides. Okay, and the fourth is lack of clarity on risk-based decision making. Basically the earlier Q9 guideline was lacking in these 4 aspects, and that is the reason this guideline is updated for introduction of this all the 4 aspects. And now we will discuss about the all the four aspects. Like first is the subjectivity, second is considering the product supply, third is the lack of understanding with respect to the formality, and more clarity on the risk-based decision making. These are the 4 points that we'll discuss now one by one. Hope I am not much fast. I am with the normal speed, right? Hope you are getting my point. So now let us understand about the subjectivity. Basically, the subjectivity, because I didn't discuss about my, the CV and all during my introduction, but I would like to tell you that I have audited so many sites, more than 500 sites I have audited. Why I'm telling this, because I want to explain this subjectivity here. I have seen so many facilities. I have reviewed the risk assessment done by so many facilities, and they do the risk assessment. Okay, risk assessment document will be there, but you will find that all risk will be categorized as a low risk only, and no mitigation action is taken. All risk will be categorized as a low risk only. That's it. Because this is a subjective. And this weakness is identified by the expert working group, and then that is the reason they revise this guideline. Subjectivity can impact every stage of a quality risk management process, especially the identification of the hazard, the estimation of probability of occurrence, and severity of the harm. It can also impact the estimation of risk reduction and the effectiveness of the decisions made from the quality risk management activities. So the point here is, when we are identifying the risk, we are identifying the severity, we are identifying the hazard, and when we are evaluating the overall risk, what happens? Always it is a subjective, that here you can see the picture that somebody will say 6, somebody will say 9. It varies from person to person. So that is the reason, what the people follow approach is which is convenient to them. So when they are performing the risk assessment, they will prepare the document, they will prepare a table, they will identify the risk, everything they will do, but they will perform that risk assessment which is suitable or convenient for them. Hope you are getting my point. And as per their convenient, what happen? All risks they will identify as a low category, and they conclude that the risk is categorized as low, so no mitigation plan is required, and that way they manage the risk assessment. And this is the weakness in the risk assessment, because I have audited so many sites, as I told you, and most of the sites have the same problem. Whenever I am reviewing the risk assessment, I am just asking the one question: show me any risk which is identified and categorized as the high risk, and you will surprise that there will not be a single risk identified as a high risk, and there is no mitigation action plan taken to control this risk. Hope you are getting my point. So this is what the subjectivity. Hope you are getting my point. And that is why I put this example always when I am discussing about the risk assessment. So the subjectivity means you perform the activity as per your convenience, as per your thoughts. So this person is telling that there is a chances of 40% rain, so I am using the umbrella of only 40%. So now you will think that, oh, it's a stupid joke, right? It's a stupid joke. But the same stupid thought is applied across so many companies by so many people, that they feel that risk is low, so no action is required. Risk is low, so no action is required. Actually, risk assessment doesn't give us the authority that we will not take action. Basically, the risk assessment will give us the priority, that for which risk is very high, or for which risk you have to give more priority, so that we can take a mitigation plan or control action plan to reduce that risk in priority. Hope you got my point. So basically the risk assessment is giving the prioritization. It is not giving us the authority to skip the action. But many people, they write in their conclusion that there is a low risk, and so the no mitigation action is required. But today there is a low risk, but we don't know that we need to have the mitigation action plans. Okay, hope you're getting my point. Again, I'm requesting you, if you have any questions, you can put in the chat box or comment section. I will revert back to you. While subjectivity cannot be completely eliminated from quality risk management activities, correct? That I also agree, you will also agree that you will not able to remove the subjectivity, because you will say that it is a if when you are rating the risk, severity or harm, that it is a, you are rating 5, I will rate 4, or maybe you are rating 4, I will rate 5. I agree, there will not be a more dilemma about 5 and 1 if there are 1 to 5 numbering. So there will not be much dilemma about 1 to 5. Okay, but yes, always there will be dilemma between 4 to 5 or 3 to 4, right? So there will be always subjectivity, that is accepted. That also the expert working group also understand this. But what they expect that you have to control this. It may be controlled by addressing bias and assumptions. So basically, when we are performing the risk assessment, we have to control this by addressing the bias nature and assumptions. So we should not work on biasness or assumptions. You're getting my point. And proper use of quality risk management tools and maximizing the use of relevant data and sources of knowledge. Why this is mentioned, that when we are performing the risk assessment, and always there will be the discussion about what is the rating, whether 3 or 4. So it should be based on the available data, available source of knowledge, and not only the assumptions or not only the bias way, so that you will able to reduce the RPN number, risk priority number, you can reduce. That should not be the intention. So that is what the guideline expects. How we can do better way and how we can control the subjectivity, that we will discuss. Don't worry, I am with you. So we will discuss all the points in detail. Okay, so just be with me. Okay, hope you got my point here about the subjectivity. If you have any questions, please raise your question. So this way, you can how you can control the subjectivity, we will discuss. Okay, but now I want to complete all the four points due to which we updated the ICH Q9 guideline. And the second is product availability risk. So always we perform the risk assessment and considering the risk assessment as a patient safety, right? But what guideline R1, this revised guideline expects that when you are thinking about the patient safety, you have to consider the product availability issues also due to quality or manufacturing issues. Product availability due to quality manufacturing issues also. So that means when you are performing the risk assessment, you have to evaluate whether that risk will lead to the stoppage of the product, or whether the product will not able to release and it can lead to the the shortage of the product. Because if product is short, again the product will not be received by the patient. So ultimately there will be the patient risk. So this point is identified by the expert working group, and that's the reason they put here. The interest of patients are served by risk-based drug shortage prevention and mitigation activities that help to proactively manage the supply chain complexities and ensure availability of needed drug or medicinal product. This is what the expectation of the guideline. Hope you got my point. Okay, hope it is clear. So now the third is formality in quality risk management. Hope you remember that I told you that please keep this point open, and we will discuss about the formality in the quality risk management. And now we are discussing about the formality in quality risk management. So what is meant by this? So basically, when we are discussing about the formality. So basically, when we are determining how much formality means depth we have to apply to a given quality risk management activity, we have to consider the some factors. See, there are if you go through this guideline, you will come to know that this ICH Q9R1 is applicable for all the activities whatever are performed in the manufacturing plants, starting from the input raw materials, supplier selections for the raw materials till the final batch release, market complaints, recall, everywhere. So this is what the scope of this ICH Q9R1 guideline. But the point is the depth of the risk assessment, or you can say the formality of the risk assessment, you have to consider based on the three different aspects or three different factors you have to consider. And the first factor is the uncertainty. The first is what? Uncertainty. The term uncertainty in quality risk management means lack of knowledge about hazard, harm, and consequently their associated risk. Basically, when what happened, the people who are performing the risk assessment, they should have the sufficient knowledge about what are the type of hazards or the harm with respect to identified risk. So that is the reason it is expected that you have to reduce the uncertainty. How you can reduce the uncertainty? Because every person is having a different thought process or limited knowledge. So you need to make a use of a cross-functional team. You can make a use of the cross-functional team so that you can make a use of a knowledge of a different people during the risk assessment. And the different people will be there, cross-functional team members will be there, so automatically the uncertainty will be reduced and you will have a more depth or more formality in the quality risk management. Hope you got my point. And this is what the guideline expectation, this is not I am telling, this is the guideline expectation about to reduce the uncertainty, and that is the reason I explain you how you can reduce the uncertainty. The next is importance. So importance means at what is the importance of that risk assessment, where you are doing the risk assessment. The more important a risk based decision may be in relation to the product quality, the higher the level of formality. Suppose you are doing the risk assessment with respect to manufacturing of a product, so the risk is high. You are getting my point? Risk assessment you are doing with respect to some other different aspects, not related to the directly the product quality, then the risk will be the low. So when the risk is low, then you need not do, it is not required to do the risk assessment at the greater extent of a formality. You can do the risk assessment in a reduced level of a formality. So you have to consider the based on the importance. In our terminology, we call this as a criticality. Correct? Criticality, critical, non-critical. If the risk assessment you are doing with respect to the critical activities, you need to do in a very depth level, considering all the cross-functional team, considering the different type of risk, identify the different type of risk, put the controls and control or mitigation plan, communicate to the all people, document it. You have to do completely based on the critical and non-critical. And here the wording is used in the guideline as the importance. Hope you got my point. I am just making in your easy understanding language. And third is complexity. The more complex a process or subject area, the quality risk management activity should be at a higher level of formality. So if the process or any activity you are doing is a complex, maybe suppose the new facility, the new facility designing, it's a big activity, complex activity. So the formality in the quality risk management will be very high. And if it is a simple, not a complex one, then formality with respect to the risk will be low. Formality means depth of the risk assessment. In our words, or simple understanding is a depth of the risk assessment, and it should be based on the 3 points. Okay. First point I told you uncertainty. Second I told you importance, and third is the complexity. So in our wordings or in our understanding, simple language, uncertainty means variability between person to person, and how you can reduce? You can reduce that by use of a cross-functional team, so that the uncertainty can be reduced. Importance means criticality of the aspect or criticality of the process, whether it is a quality related or not, product quality related or not. And third is the complexity, if the process is a complex or simple. So based on that you can decide about the formality of the risk assessment. Hope you are clear with this aspect. Higher level of uncertainty, higher level of importance, and higher level of complexity may require more formal quality risk management approach to manage potential risk and to support effective risk-based decision making. This is what the expectation of the guideline. So that is the reason you have to evaluate this. And this second paragraph is very, very important. Hope you can read this paragraph. Okay. So please read in detail. Resource constraints. Please read. Resource constraints should not be used to justify the use of lower levels of formality in the quality risk management process. Means you cannot consider that the resource constraint and then you can consider this as a lower formality. No. The formality of the risk assessment or depth of the risk assessment should be based on that 3 aspects what we discussed: uncertainty, importance, and third is what? Third is what we discussed? Complexity. Uncertainty, importance, and complexity. Based on that only you have to identify the formality in the risk assessment, or in our word, formality or the depth of the risk assessment. So you cannot consider that we don't have the resource, so let us categorize as the the lower formality or reduced formality. No. Resource constraint should not be used to justify. Okay, that is the reason it is given here, very clear. It is directly taken from the guideline, copy and paste from the guideline to make you all people aware. Okay, so it is not an excuse that you don't have the resources. This is not the excuse. And the fourth point is risk based decision making. So the point is here the thought is you cannot reduce the risk to the zero. Always there will be some risk. I agree with you. Correct? You cannot reduce the risk to zero, right? So the point is, when there will be still some risk will be there, how you can take the decision based on that risk. That is what discussed here. Effective, I will just go through that so that you will understand in detail. Effective, this is I am discussing about the guideline expectations and purpose of revising this ICH Q9 guideline. After this we will discuss about the practical implementation of ICH Q9. So please be with me. Effective risk-based decision making begins with determining the level of effort, formality, and documentation that should be applied during the quality risk management process. The decisions made from quality risk management activities include those in relation to what hazard exists, the risk associated with those hazard, the risk control required, the acceptability of the residual risk, and the risk control. And in addition to that, we have to consider the communication and review of the quality risk management activities and outputs. So many people prepare the risk assessment. Many people prepare the risk assessment table, mitigation plan, everything perfect. I agree with you, but still they lack in these 2 points. Remember this, the 2 points. The first point is what? Risk communication and risk review. What does it mean? It means that the risk assessment, when you are doing, there will be still some residual risk. So that residual risk should be communicated to the concerned people. That is the first point. Second point is what? Review. The risk assessment should be periodically reviewed. Risk assessment should be periodically reviewed. Now you will say you are doing the risk assessment for deviations, market complaint, change control, so that also we should review periodically. No, that it is very clear that we need not require to review periodically. But the risk assessment with respect to the process, risk assessment with respect to the facility, cleaning validation, then manufacturing process, equipments, these are the long lasting activities, long lasting with the facility. These risk assessment should be reviewed periodically. Now you will ask me why we should do this review periodically. I will answer this question in next slides, so be with me. I will discuss this also with you when I will discuss about the practical approach of a risk assessment. Then we will discuss about this point. Okay, so now here I want to touch upon the one point that managing your risk has its rewards. Why I put this slide only 2 lines, only 2 lines? Because risk assessment, it's a proactive approach. Basically it's a proactive approach. So what happened, the process or the whatever equipment, you are not started using that, you are not started following that, still you just evaluate what might go wrong in future. You will think what might go wrong in future, and based on that you identify the risk today, and based on that you can put some mitigation plan or action plan to reduce that risk, to avoid that risk. That is the reason I put here that managing your risk has its own rewards. Hope you got my point. It's very, very important. That is the reason I always focus on this. And this is what the second point I was supposed to discuss with you, and that is what the integration of a quality risk management with the ICH Q8 and Q10. So ICH Q8 for pharmaceutical product development and ICH Q9 for quality management system. And ICH Q9 is the risk-based approach used in pharmaceutical product development as well as the pharmaceutical quality management system. Okay, so this is what I want to touch upon here, that Q9 is not a standalone or independent. You need to use the ICH Q9 in a development also and in a quality management system also, and these are the 3 guidelines. You can go through these 3 guidelines. So this R1, Q9, R1 already we are discussing. You can go through the Q8 and Q10 also. If you want to go through the Q8, then already I have a separate video on Q8. It is a recorded webinar. You can go through that learning from that guideline. Okay, so this is what I was telling you here, and now I want to tell you about how Q9 interact with the Q8 and Q10. So here you can see this graph. You will come to know that the risk from the manufacturing side from low to high, and product or process risk is again low to high. So if you do the risk based approach, then you will have the structured product development, and also you will have a very good quality system. So then you can just understand that the product specific risk with respect to the patient safety will be reduced. You're getting my point? So when you are following the risk based approach during the product development, and also you are following the risk based approach in the quality management system, so automatically the product development, you are controlling the risk, so the product is robust, and further you put quality systems in a plant such a way that you can detect the whatever the defects or the issues are there. So automatically the product go outside the factory or manufacturing premises will be of a good quality, and you can ensure the patient safety. So this is the thought behind this or the message behind this slide. And this is what I want to explain here. You can see now Q8, Q9 and Q10. So here you can see the product design. So when we design the product, that time we have to consider the process. What will be the process, what type of facility or equipment we will have, and what type of materials we have, and accordingly we will manufacture the product. After manufacturing, the product will be distributed and then it will reach to the patient. This is a normal flow. So you can see that design under the ICH Q8, right? You can see the half part of process, materials and facilities is again under the ICH Q8, because when we design the product, when we develop the product, that time we have to consider by keeping in mind that what should be the process, what type of facility we have in the manufacturing facility we have, and what type of materials we can use. Based on that we can develop the product. We cannot develop the product irrespective of the facility. Otherwise what happen, we develop the product but it will not be used, it will of no use, because we will not have that type of equipments in the manufacturing area, that type of the facility or environment conditions that in the area, then our development will be of no use. So that is the reason when we develop the product, these points are considered when we develop the product. So you can see the half part of a process, materials and facilities are considered during the development. And when the product is developed, it is manufactured in the commercial basis, or you can say the validation batches are manufactured in the manufacturing area. And you can see that the process, materials and facilities, that part of course is a part of the manufacturing. So product is manufactured and then it is dispatched, distributed, and then up to here you will have the all quality management system. Means in the manufacturing area you will have the quality management system, you will have all the quality notifications like change control, deviations, then you will have the SOP, standard operating procedures, standard packaging procedures, standard manufacturing procedures, standard cleaning procedures, validations, everything. And then the product will be manufactured, packed, and then it will be distributed, and then it will reach to the patient. So up from design to the reaching to the patient, whole I have displayed here, and you can see that ICH Q9 is linked back to the patient risk. This is what the message I want to give you here from this ICH Q8 and Q10, and both are considered with the risk-based approach. This is what I want to explain here with this slide. Hope you are clear with this the slide, right? If you have any question, I told you that you can put in the chat box or comment section. I will revert back to you. So now, up till now what we discussed the first very important point is what are the changes in this new guideline, correct? Second point, what we discussed, that it is integrated approach. ICH Q9 is integrated approach. That means Q9 is used in product development as well as in the quality management system. Like means ICH Q8 and ICH Q9 along with the ICH Q8 and ICH Q10 along with the ICH Q9 guideline. Hope you got my point. So this is an integrated approach of a quality risk management with the product design as well as the quality management system. And now the third point what we are going to discuss, very important, is a practical implementation of the risk assessment. Practical implementation. Why? Because many people think that it is very tedious, troublesome and very hardworking activity and all. Actually it is very interesting activity and very learning activity. So that is the reason I put a third more focus of this guideline is the practical implementation. So please be with me up to the end of this session. It will be really helpful for you. Okay. Of course, the first line is very clear from this slide that it is a very important component of an effective quality system. You all are aware about that. Effective quality risk management provides proactive means to identify and control potential quality issues during development and also during manufacturing, both development also and manufacturing also. So basically, risk is defined as a combination of probability of occurrence of a harm and severity of the harm. These are some understanding. So I just put here in the slide. Okay. Now I want to touch upon the practical implementation of the risk assessment. And hope you remember that I was telling you that one point that the many people fail to comply the requirement of a risk assessment, and that is the periodic review. Hope you remember just 10 minutes before I was discussing the same point, periodic review, and I told you that why it is required. Now that point I am going to touch here. So how we calculate the risk assessment? How we do the risk assessment? Basically, we identify the probability. So first of all, what we do, we identify the risk. So with respect to that risk, we check the probability that in the past how many times this risk happened. That is the probability. Then with respect to that risk, we check on today that if that risk happens today, what is the detection mechanism we have today, so that if the risk happened today, we will able to detect. You're getting my point? And the third point is severity. Suppose we have the detection mechanism but still we could not detect and it goes to the market, then what is its severity, or what will be its harm to the patient? That is the severity. So we consider the probability, detectability and severity. We give the numbering to this and multiply this number to get the risk priority number. Hope you are all are doing the same practice for performing or calculating the risk assessment. Now the point is why we should do the periodic review of the risk assessment. Now suppose today it is a 2023 year. You are getting the training in the year 2023 and you are reviewing the risk assessment which is conducted in 2015, because that 2015 risk assessment is not periodically reviewed. Now tell me what will be the benefit. The benefit will be the risk assessment team who is going to review that risk assessment of year 2015 may have some new members. The new members may be new thoughts. So you reduce the uncertainty. Hope you remember our discussion. Second point is, when that time in 2015 the risk assessment was done, that time the probability was considered based on the last 2-3 years data. Last 2-3 years data means 2000, maybe 12, 13 and 14. And based on that the risk assessment RPN value was calculated. But suppose when you review today in 2023, then the point is you will consider the last 2-3 years data, maybe 2019, 20, 21 and 23. So suppose the probability of the risk assessment done in 2015, that time the probability was low based on the previous 3 years data of 2015. And today when you are reviewing the same risk assessment and you come to know that the probability of the same risk is high. Earlier it was low, but now it is high. It indicates that whatever the mitigation plan suggested in year 2015 is not adequate, and now you need to put further more additional mitigation plan. That is the reason you have to perform periodic review of a risk assessment. Hope you got my point. Right? You're clear with this? What I'm telling you? And how you can do the risk assessment? Practically, you can have this type of table. Many companies are following the same table. So basically, I make it simple in a part A and part B. So in the part A you can put these columns, process or activity. So you identify the process or activity. Then with respect to that process, what are the possibility of risk? When this process is followed, what is the possibility of risk with respect to the material, with respect to the person, with respect to the equipment? That all risk you have to identify. Means you have to identify the potential risk or failure mode. Now the third column is risk associated with the failure mode. So when you identify that potential risk, what is the risk associated with that failure mode? That you have to consider here. Then what are the current controls you have today? Based on that, you evaluate the severity, occurrence and detectability. Severity of the harm, then occurrence or probability, and then detectability. You consider this, then you multiply this to get the RPN value and you categorize the risk level. And then if the risk is high, then again you have to put the same details here and you write here that risk is not accepted. In the second column you can say risk is not accepted, no, and you have to write justification why it is not accepted, and then you have to put additional mitigation plan, and then you will come to know that whether the risk is reduced or not. This is the practical example. For this practical example you can follow this type of table. Many people are following this practice. If you want actual practical example, you can go through the short video of a risk assessment. I will give you the link in the description section. You can go through that, or you can click to the I button so that you can go through that practical example I have given in this separate video, so that you will understand that practically how you can do by using the same table. In that video I have considered the same table and I took some example and I filled that table here. Okay, hope you are getting my point. So this is the way you can practically implement the risk assessment. Okay, here I just want to tell you that risk assessment is the improvement process. CAPA, corrective and preventive action, also improvement process. But you can see that always the risk assessment process is accepted. CAPA is what? Reactive approach. Risk assessment based improvement is a proactive based approach. So in CAPA, if you are only believing on CAPA, no, we will take a CAPA and then we will improve it. When problem will happen, then we will investigate, we will take a CAPA and then we will improve it. But my dear friends, it is a reactive approach. You are waiting problem to happen. But in the proactive approach, the quality risk management approach, you are not waiting problem to happen, and so you are protecting your organization from the future problems with respect to the product, with respect to the failures. So that is the reason I put this example here. Hope you understood this point. So how you can do the QRM process? Simple. We have to consider only one very important question: what can go wrong, and then what are the unintended consequences or impact, what are the possibility or likelihood, then how we can detect it, and what are the alternate solutions that can control or manage the risk or residual risk. These questions you can ask. If you need to know the practically how you can do it, then again I am telling you that I am sharing a link in the description section. You can go through that. This is very important picture. It indicates that these are the consequences, if you can see the cursor, and this is the quality management. So if you not follow the risk assessment, you can see that consequences will be high. But when you follow the risk assessment, you can see the consequences will be reduced. This is what the interpretation of this slide. I agree that 1 hour is getting complete, so please be with me for 5-10 minutes. I will complete this slide. So FMEA tool is there. This is the guideline requirement for FMEA. There are so many risk assessment tools, failure mode effect analysis tool, HAZOP tool, HACCP, hazard analysis and critical control points, HAZOP, then FMECA. So many tools are there. Then fault tree analysis, PHA. So many tools are there. But in pharma, FMEA is used, and that is the reason I have taken the example for FMEA for your understanding. And also we have the less time, so I could not take all the examples. Hope it is clear to all of you. Now the last and very important, I think 4-5 slides are there, and that is the action priority table. Many people are only following that FMEA, they are not focusing on action priority table. Why it is required? RPN value will not give a proper understanding. Only RPN value approach, following the RPN, risk priority number value approach, will not give you the proper evaluation of the risk and actions on that. So for that I have taken the example. Suppose severity is 10. Severity is 10. Occurrence also 10. Means what? Severity is occurrence 10 means what? Always, continuously it is occurred. Since last 2 years it is occurring so many times. Problem is occurring so many times. Sorry. And severity 10 means what? If that problem occur or that problem or defective product goes into the market, not identified and goes to the market, it will be very, very serious. This is called the severity is very, very high. Detectability is 1. Means what? Very high detectability. Okay, whatever defect is there, we will able to detect. Very high detection mechanism. In that case, multiplication will be 100. Now, occurrence is 10, detection is 10, still the RPN will be 10. Severity is 10, detection is 10, still RPN will be 10, 100. Now, the point here is try to understand. Suppose take the example, the first row example and the third row example. Severity is 10 means very serious. You cannot take a chance, you cannot take a chance. Third example also, severity is 10 and detection also 10 means very, very low. Detection is 10 means what? Very, very low means if that problem happen, you will not able to detect in your manufacturing routine operations. And if this happens, then the RPN will be 100. And in your SOP, you will write that RPN up to 100 is categorized as low and no action is required. But my dear friend, occurrence is 1. Okay, maybe hardly one time or maybe hardly one or maybe the 2 times happen in last 5 years. Based on that, you categorize occurrence as 1. But the severity is very, very extremely high. And detection also very, very low. No detection at all. And in that case, you should not take a chance considering the high severity. You are getting my point. So you need to take action. That is the reason you need to follow the action priority number. You cannot just follow the risk priority number or RPN number. Hope you are getting my point, So what happened? You can do like this. First, you just consider severity and occurrence, because these two things are not under your control. Severity is not under control because you don't know at what extent it will be severe. And occurrence, it is on the basis of past data, previous data, past. So it is not under control. So past data you have to consider, severity you have to take it, and you have to make this type of table. you have to make it as a RAG analysis, red, amber, green, or maybe the red, yellow and green. And then you categorize that what is the number, action priority number, and that way you can put action priority number. You can take 1 to 5 or 5 to 1 to 10 here, and then you can make a action priority table here by making the heat matrix. So you can see here that here you can see that the red, amber, yellow and green, and you can take a action plan so that you can reduce the risk with the the high severity or high high occurrence to the, by putting the mitigation plans and all, you can increase the detectability so that you can reduce it. So that way you can lower the risk. Many people think, many people tell that we cannot reduce the risk. This is not a correct. We can reduce the risk. We can reduce the risk. Only thing, we need to have a right approach. We need to have a right approach. There are so many examples of reducing the risk. Reducing the risk, I am telling, not only increasing the sorry, not only increasing the detection, but reducing the risk also. People have implemented that. As there is no much time, but okay, 1 minute I will just take it. Okay, I will give an example. Earlier, the dry syrups were reconstituted by using a normal water, so that they prescribe that the reconstitute the dry syrup by using the hot and cooled water up to the mark. But now what happened? Now the sterile water is given. So the sterile water is given, so you just open the sterile water and you reconstitute the dry syrup. They reduce the risk. So many examples are there in the medical devices or in the medicines, that the product designs are modified, the product formulas are changed to reduce the risk. The packagings are changed to reduce the risk. So many examples are there to reduce the risk. Many people have the wrong idea or understanding about reducing the risk. So that is the reason I touch upon this topic. And this risk priority table, you can use it for making the heat map or matrix, to make the matrix so that you can reduce the risk. Hope you understood this today's this training session. And this is, I just want to have thank you so much for your kind attendance, and you understood all the topic of a complete ICHQ 9 R1. And what we focus today, what are the changes in the revision 1, what is the brief on ICH guideline, then what what are the practical implementation of ICHQ 9. Further, I told you that if you want to learn ICHQ 9 with the practical example, I have prepared a separate 10 minutes video. You can go through that 10 minutes video, and you have any question, you can put in the chat box. I am now revert back to you. And further, I discuss about the integration of ICHQ 9 with ICHQ 8 and Q10. That also we discuss. We discuss about the action priority table, that RPN value, following the RPN value is old concept. We need to have some additional thought on this. That all we discuss. Hope you understood all the points here. Further, now I will go through your all questions and I will revert back to you. And thank you for your patience. Already 8 minutes or more. And so really you are thank you for your patience, thank you for your kind presence. So thank you so much, and ensure all time compliance. Okay, thank you so much. Now I will reply to your questions. Okay, thank you so much.